What's up, y'all? Jang here from ultimaterc.com with a look at a type of something that I don't really look at all that often, but I've been kind of pushed and sucked into checking them out more and more frequently. This is an aircraft. It's the Flyzone Uberlites. These are indoor specific, very, very small, very, very lightweight aircraft. And you actually get two different planes in one box with just one main core airframe. Let me go ahead and open it up and show you what I mean. So there you go. As you can see, you've got two sets of wings in there, and let's check out each one individually because they're actually two different styles. First of all, you've got this biplane, and here you can just see how small these things are, and they are 3-channel craft. So you've got your throttle, and then you've got rudder and elevator. No ailerons, but yay. Small, lightweight, very cheap too. The whole set was a little over $100 on Tower Hobbies. And here's the second big piece that's included in here. This is just a monoplane, single wing design, very similar size to the biplane, just a little bit larger on one single wing rather than two. But neither of these has any go bits on them. They're basically just gliders as they are right now. There's no motor, there's no propeller, obviously, there's no battery, anything. So that's where the beauty of the system comes in, which is with this little guy right here. And it's just so tiny, so small, so fragile. Everything is based around just the lightest weight components possible. The propeller itself is actually one single layer of carbon fiber, and it's a custom mold just for this new craft. They use the most basic electromagnetic actuators to send power back to the control surfaces. But here's the real amazing thing that I just can't get enough of. I'll just take these apart and put them back together. Is the way that the whole thing goes together. The control surfaces, the linkages to them have these little magnets in them, and they just click into each other. I don't know if you can see that all that well on camera, but they just connect on their own. The whole airframe just snaps together. It's all done just by high strength magnets, and you're done. The assembly is complete. If you want to switch over to the other airframe, you just pull this off, put that back. Okay, I want to be a biplane now. Just line it up roughly. It pretty much does most of the work for you. And snap, snap, snap. Everything is together, and there is your complete airplane. Pretty darn cool. Now, rounding out the items that are included in this set, here is your controller. It's a pretty cheap little unit. Nothing too special as far as the design, but it is 2.4 gigahertz. You can see there's no antenna here. It does bind individually to the receiver that's built into the circuit board on the plane. It does have multiple mixing modes, which I'm sure is for future craft. There's actually also already one other airframe available for this system. It's actually a flying wing. So there you only have elevons. So there's a mixing dial to change what flight mode is used, and then you've just got no spring here on your throttle, which is what you generally are going to want. And of course, elevator and rudder is there. And here's another cool thing. You've got a USB style port on the bottom of this thing. This is the charger. It looks like a little thumb drive, and you just take this out here, take this off, take off those two caps, and you can plug this directly into the controller. Make sure it's right side up. Plug it directly into the controller, and here is the LiPo battery. Tiny little thing. It actually gets attached with magnets also. You can charge it directly by just sticking it on like that. Now, if you don't want to use up the batteries in your controller, by the way, AA batteries are included for the controller, so you don't need to buy anything else to get flying with this. But if you don't want to do that, then you can indeed just plug this directly into the USB port on a computer or any sort of device that has a USB port on it. For instance, if you have a car that has an auxiliary port on the stereo, you can plug this into there and it will just charge right up. This takes care of making sure that the battery gets the right amount of juice and does not get overcharged, so you're not going to have any danger with the LiPo. Again, you just stick that on there and there's an LED light that'll indicate the charging status. And when you're ready to fly, you will just go over to your plane, and like I said, magnets everywhere, just snaps right on, and there you go. And it is on and ready to be bound to the transmitter and ready to fly. Now, though everything is very simple as far as the design, and it's pretty inexpensive, all the controls are proportional. So your rudder, for instance, you have very fine control. It's not as fine as on a larger hobby grade craft that has a proper servo in it, but there are a lot of steps in there. Same with the elevator, same with the throttle. So let me go ahead and find a good place to actually fly this thing, because it does need no wind, indoors only, unless you live in a place that has literally no wind outside. Then you can get away with flying it outdoors, but it's best to fly it in a protected indoor space where you've got plenty of room to let it breathe a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and try out both of these wing designs and see how they fly. I started out with the biplane version, expecting that all that extra wing surface would allow me to fly with more stability and lower speed. Boy, was I wrong on that. Had a lot of trouble keeping this thing under control. It needed to have a little bit of speed. It needed a lot of up elevator and turns. Even at speed, it still had a pretty fair angle of attack that it had to fly at. I really just didn't enjoy flying with this version of the airframe. I handed my controller over to a couple other folks and they had similar experiences with it. I've also verified that others with more experience than me also tend to not prefer this airframe, the biplane one. It just doesn't have very good flight characteristics. If you're a newbie like me, it's especially rough, and especially rough are the landings, especially when they break a prop like this. Those props cost $10. And I forgot to mention that actually when I first got this, the original version that I got already had a broken propeller right in the package. Fortunately, Hobby Co. replaced that with no cost and no questions, but you really have to be careful on the landings. They can get expensive fast. Now, the monoplane, the single wing version, oh man, totally different story altogether. High speed, slow speed, anything, just beautiful, absolutely smooth. You don't need to have any right stick input to keep it going. It has plenty of dihedral on it and it will just glide around. Just such a pleasure to fly with this airframe on it. In the slow speed sections that you're seeing here, I'm flying at about 1/3 throttle, if even that much. And it only needs just a little bit of elevator in turns to keep its attitude up. There's really nothing bad that I could say about the way that it flies with this airframe installed. I was even able to successfully fly it, and without much drama, outdoors with a little bit of a breeze, and not a consistent breeze either. A little bit of gustiness in there. Still had a little bit of trouble with the landings though, even with this version of the wing, where the gear would tend to tuck under the plane and pull off part of the powered control portion of the craft upon landing if you didn't get it just right, or if you land on a surface that's not completely smooth. Now, I didn't get it on video, but sometimes when that happens, when you get a little bit of separation on landing between the main frame, or the wing section of it, versus the powered section of it, sometimes it will actually get stuck with the throttle on and I'll actually lose control. This happened to me several times, and in my research and seeing other people's experiences, I've seen that others have had this experience also, where it just loses control. You have to take out the battery and put it back in to completely reset it, and then you have full control again. And
And that's a perfect segue to an explanation of what happened in my very last powered flight of the Uberlites. Unfortunately, I don't have it on video because it was at night. There wasn't enough light to get good video footage of it. There was plenty of light from the street lamps in the cul-de-sac where I was flying to see the plane, especially with its little LED light. And it flew just fine. I went up, everything was good. Came down, everything was good. Went back up, and a few seconds into flight, I realized that I had absolutely no control. I tried everything that I could from my position of cycling the power on the controller and changing between the different mixing modes to see if one of them would catch. Pulled the batteries on the controller, put them back in, tried to get as close as I could to the craft, but the Uberlites plane itself was just under its own control. It decided it no longer wanted to be with me. It got stuck on about 3/4 throttle with just a little bit of left rudder, if I remember correctly, and it started to spiral upwards into the night sky. It kept going. I had a friend with me. It kept going and going and going. It was at least 100, maybe upwards of 200 feet up in the air, and at least that much farther away from us versus the ground, until the point where even in the complete dark of night we could no longer see the LED light. We could hear it still going away. It literally flew away into the night sky, and we never saw it again. The first few times that I lost control of the craft were indoors and on the ground, so there really wasn't any drama or any problem with that. I was able to just turn it off. But when that happens in the air, sometimes you just can't get the craft back, and that really, really, really sucks. If you're able to just fly indoors in a controlled environment like you're seeing here, I think the Uberlites is safe in the sense that if you do encounter one of those flyaway conditions like these have been reported to have by several owners of them now, at least you will be able to recover the craft, and because it's so light, most likely there's not going to be any damage. However, knowing that these unexplained flyaway conditions can occur, I personally just can't come to recommend purchasing this craft. It's absolutely beautiful in the air. I had such a good time with it until it left me. Now I'm a pilot scorned. Flyzone Uberlites, great idea, very nice design, but one little fatal flaw. Can't blame you if you buy one even knowing that. And if you do get one and you never experience one of those problems, well, that's great. I am absolutely happy for you and hope that you really enjoy your Flyzone Uberlites, because when they work great. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for more product reviews from ultimaterc.com. Bye for now.